Imagine a city suspended 2.5 miles in the air, a massive structure of 2,000 stories, drifting quietly on anti-gravity platforms. In this society, there is no money, banks, politicians, or human government. Bielek claims he spent nearly 2 years living inside this world. A 20th century man existing in the 28th century defies everything we understand about physics. To figure out how he arrived in this floating utopia, we have to look back to a very specific moment in time. The story begins in 1943, aboard the USS Eldridge during the Philadelphia experiment. When the ship's radar and visibility equipment severely malfunctioned, Bielek, then known as Ed Cameron, and his brother Duncan jumped off the deck to escape. They expected to hit the water of the naval yard. Instead, they fell through a hyperspace rift and woke up inside a hospital room in the year 2137. Their unshielded trip through that rift left them with severe space radiation burns. They spent 6 weeks in that hospital bed while advanced medical staff put them back together. Then the timeline fractured again. Right as he was recovering, Bielek was suddenly pulled 600 years forward. This time, Duncan was left behind. This uncontrolled double jump completely severed Bielek from his own era. He was stranded alone in an unrecognizable future. If you build a structure 2,100 stories tall using 20th century materials, it instantly collapses under its own weight. 28th century engineers solved this by installing reverse anti-gravity systems every 300 floors. Neutralizing the load in sections ensures each segment only supports its own mass. Around the year 2025, a series of global conflicts and geographical shifts reached a peak, wiping out nearly all traditional infrastructure. Humanity had to rebuild from scratch. They relied on salvage technology, specifically optical data disks recovered from surviving nuclear submarines, to piece civilization back together. The trauma of this near-extinction event forced a complete societal redesign. The result was a socialist utopia, where currency was eliminated and children raised by the state. Human government was abolished. In its place, every city was managed by a synthetic intelligence, a massive computer system housed in a floating crystalline structure. Bielek was occasionally called in for interviews with this system. The crystal was highly radioactive, requiring a fully lead-lined suit just to enter the chamber. There were no keyboards or microphones. The crystal interviewed him entirely through telepathy, conducting the interview without speaking a single word. Bielek learned that this synthetic intelligence was designed and maintained by the Wingmakers, an elusive, advanced group of engineers operating behind the scenes. Humanity had traded political autonomy for an AI-orchestrated survival mechanism. Bielek lived in this environment for almost 2 years. Then, the AI and the Wingmakers delivered a strict ultimatum. He was not allowed to stay. The computer informed him that there was a catastrophic mess in the past. This error threatened reality itself, and Bielek was the only person positioned to fix it. They initiated his extraction. He was sent back to 2137 to collect his brother Duncan, and then both of them were pushed through an interactive time portal to the year 1983. They arrived in the dead of night at the Montauk military base. As a spotlight washed over them, they realized their memories of the 28th century had been heavily suppressed and wiped clean. The 28th century intelligence weaponized Bielek as an amnesiac agent, deploying him to the exact moment in history where the timeline needed correction. Inside the underground Montauk facility, the brothers were brought face-to-face with Dr. John von Neumann, the scientist who directed their original naval experiment in WW2. This diagram illustrates what von Neumann explained to them. The 1943 Eldridge experiment had accidentally torn a 40-year hole in space-time, locking directly onto the Montauk project in 1983. To stop the rift from expanding and engulfing the planet, von Neumann sent Bielek back through the wormhole to 1943. His mission was to physically smash the Eldridge's equipment, sever the connection, and close the loop. Bielek's time in 2749 acted as a command center, orchestrating his movements across centuries to ensure the survival of our reality.